between 16 and 20 really keen people who wanted to start a society to promote what they called the Caledonian Harp. It was the Caledonian Harp Society to begin with. And almost immediately changed its name to the Clarsach Society, or the Gaelic title Common na Clarsach. And they started it to promote the playing of the Scottish harp, the Clarsach, particularly amongst Gaelic-speaking people. That's where it began, and that's a particular part of Scotland, more to the north and the west. So that's where it began.
About 16 people.
16 to 20.
Yes, that's all it takes.
Yes.
And what were the first events they organized? How did they get
They met at the
ideas
end,
out?
Yeah, they met at the end of the National Maud, which is a singing, a music festival, mostly singing in the Gaelic language. It's there to promote Gaelic music and the language. And some far-sighted gentlemen had started harp Clarsach competitions in that, and had little copies made of the ancient harps which we have here in Edinburgh, dating back to the 15th and 16th century. They got copies made but strung with gut rather than wire, which was what the old ones were strung with. And they lent them out and encouraged people to come, mainly to sing to the accompaniment of the harp. That was what it was regarded as. And I think that goes back to the old bardic traditions, which were where the clan chieftains, the important people, kept a bard who made up great poetry, and it was chanted or sung to the accompaniment of the Clarsach. So I think it was because of that. And then, of course, the minute it was strung with gut, it had different sound, different possibilities, and began to develop into the instrument we know, which is very like the pedal harp in its construction, sound and technique. But very quickly they formed branches of the society in areas. Edinburgh was the first branch, the capital of Scotland, and the second branch was London, because there was a great, what we call an expat community, Anglo-Scots who lived in London, and really wanted to cling to their own culture and languages. So that was the second branch, and then more and more sprung up, and gradually it grew. And the biggest problem was to get teachers. But once they got teachers,
how did they go about having teachers?
Well, I wasn't there, so I'm not sure. But I think a lot of it was people who had played concert harp, pedal harp, which was, of course, not common. We still don't have a lot of them in Scotland, but there would be people, and they were willing to teach little harp. And then from there it grew and grew until now we have a huge number of teachers, and teaching to a very high standard. Which is
how many would you estimate the number of teachers today?
Well, that's a very difficult one. There must be, say, 6, 10, there must be about 20 in different areas of Scotland, probably more, but these are the ones that we know of.
They're well known and highly respected teachers.
And of course south of the border, we are still a united kingdom.
Yes.
Although you probably know there's going to be a referendum to see whether Scotland will become an independent country, but there's huge, it's so mixed up, there's so many Scots people
everywhere,
and of course
Ireland.
Down south of the border in England and in Wales, there are branches of the Clarsach Society.
There are.
And they just play their own music as well as the Scottish music, which is great.
Which is great, yes. So how many branches is there now?
There are 13.
13. Okay. And so you, as I understand, the function of the harp here was because it accompanied songs, and there was this conscious willingness for the language, because it's accompanied spoken word.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
Yes.
But it hasn't stayed that
like
way.
that. So because it became an expression, artistic expression of its own.
Yes. Well, I took it up way back in 1957. I took it up because I was a singer, and I was really keen on our Scottish songs, not Gaelic but Scottish, which is another language, the language of Robert Burns. Everybody knows about Robert Burns.
Yes.
And we have a huge number of wonderful Scottish songs. So I took it up so that I was self-contained. I could do my own accompaniments. But even from that, it immediately began to spread and became a solo instrument. It always was, but it became known as a solo and used as a solo instrument. And now it's in everything. It's in jazz, it's in the bands, it's it's just like a disease. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, yes.
Not
it's a good disease.
Not as much as we'd like.
Not as much as one would like.
And of course, one of the main activities now of the Clarkson Society is running the Edinburgh International Harp Festival. And that started very small, based, I think mainly still is on the small, the lever harp. But as you have yourself experience, it's enormously wide-ranging in what we have.
Yes, definitely, and very unique.
Hope so.
Yes,
keep it that way.
Yes, definitely. And how did you yourself get involved in this? I mean, where did you start? We were in the society as a member first, right?
Yes. Well, I got my first harp because we hire harps. One of the best things the Clarkson Society does is it buys good harps and rents them out so that people can start, because it's such an expensive thing for people. It becomes what we call a middle class or rich family's occupation, and this allows it to be almost anybody can start. And some schools now in Scotland have a little stock of harps which they allow and encourage children to play and bring in a teacher to do it, which is excellent. But that's how I got my first harp. That's how I started.
So any young person can apply to the society and rent an instrument.
Anybody just has to join the society.
First.
They may have to put their name down on a waiting list for a harp, but eventually
it will come.
They will get one, and a good harp.
So you continually buy used or instruments?
We only buy new ones.
New ones, actually.
We used to buy second hand because it was all you could get. But now there's so many good instrument makers.
Yes, there are.
And they're good to us. You know, if we put in an order for a certain number, they'll give us a good discount.
Yeah, you buy several at a time.
Yes. And then as the harps get older and less useful, we sell them. And there's always someone who wants to buy it.
Obviously, it's an investment. So because the society always will own these instruments, right?
Yes.
And the funding for example, this project is one of the projects of the society. Obviously, the instrument rental part. Is that funded mostly by membership dues, or it's patrons?
It's mostly by membership dues, yes. Or sometimes we get a donation. And at one time we applied to the bank for a loan so that we could boost up the stock, and we got a bank loan, so we'll do anything.
Yes, we'll do anything.
It's self-generating now because the income from the harps
allows you to buy more.
To keep up the ones, because when they go out on hire, they're not always beautifully looked after.
Yes, exactly.
But it allows them to be repaired, it allows them to be refurbished, and when their day is done, we will sell the harp to somebody who might take it away and love it. It's no use out on the road anymore.
Yes,
it's like being a musician on the road. It's hard, and the harp can have a rough time.
How many members do you have now?
I'm not sure, but I think it's about 900 members.
900 members. And so they are mostly harpists, but also friends of the harp.
Yeah.
And
it's not huge, but it's a good core.
You know, the World Harp Congress has less members, I think.
Is that right?
Yes. I think so. Or at least the amount of people who show up in the World Harp Congress. It's about 800 or so, I think, in best case. What other projects can you talk us about? I mean, the some of the fundamentals that the society is pursuing ever since it was founded. The festival and providing the instruments.
We also publish music, and we used to be the only people doing that for the small harp. Now that world has grown as well. But we still publish what we call folios of music, which we used to make ourselves. The first ones were handwritten, then they were-
manuscripts.
but now we have them published for us and marketed for us.
Marketed.
Yes, we'll still sell direct to members, but they're in the
Also to
shops.